And we're live. What is up, everyone? It's just, it's just a chill day. There's nothing going on today. Nothing of note. Nothing that you need to be concerned with at all. I'm just going live on a Friday. No big deal. Am I right? False. Welcome to perhaps the most breaking news that we've had on the show ever since we started the show five years ago. One of the biggest news story in the world broke today on a Friday, and we're about to talk about it. So NAR settled the commission lawsuit. Some would say they gave up. What's up, Janice? She's joining us live. I'm also broadcasting on YouTube. Janice, where'd it go? How's it going? I'm also using a new streaming service. I'm using StreamYard. This will allow me to go live on Instagram at the same time. So I thought, what better way to test, or what better time to test than the most interesting news story that I've ever covered in the commission lawsuit. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to go through the NAR news release. We'll talk about what it means for real estate agents, buyers, and consumers alike. And I want to get your opinion. I'm broadcasting live on Instagram on 2 accounts for the first time. It's the first time that I've been able to carry the show on Instagram as well as YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. So we're literally everywhere right now. That being said, let me just get up this lawsuit. So let's just start talking about it and going through it. Let's see. Bear with me for a half second here. Okay. Here it is. NAR Association of Realtors. I'm going to read it off to you guys. There's nothing really to look at. It's just a big piece of paper with text on it. So I'm just going to read it. The Sitzer-Burnett verdict and copycat cases filed across the country have raised questions about the way real estate professionals do their jobs and how consumers hire and compensate us. Since the litigation began, we have worked consistently to reach a solution with the plaintiffs. In the months since the Sitzer-Burnett verdict, we redoubled the efforts. We've always wanted to reduce the significant strain on our members and provide a path forward for the industry, blah, blah, blah. So they've basically been saying they've been trying to settle this deal from the beginning, and they haven't been able to until now. The settlement is, I believe it's $418 million that will be paid to supposedly consumers that are impacted by the class action. Of course, we know about 30% of that is going to go to the attorneys. It's a great day for them. In the agreement, or in the proposed settlement, so this isn't finalized yet, it's got to be okayed by the judge and such, but in the proposed settlement, there's a release of liability. So this agreement would release NAR over 1 million NAR members in all state and territorial and local realtor associations, all association-owned MLSs and brokerages with the NAR member as a principal that had a residential transaction volume in 2022 of $2 billion or below from liability for the types of claims brought in these cases on behalf of the home sellers related to broker commissions. It goes on to say that NAR fought to include members for Home Services of America, but there are corporate defendants still litigating and could not be included under the settlement. Compensation moved off the MLS. So this, I think, is probably one of the biggest things. What's up, Jen? I may have Jen joining us live in a little bit. Compensation offers moved off the MLS. NAR has agreed to put in place a new rule prohibiting offers of compensation on the multiple listing service. Offers of compensation could continue to be an option consumers can pursue off MLS through negotiations and consultations with real estate professionals. Sellers can offer buyer concessions on an MLS. For example, concessions for buyer closing costs. This change will go in effect mid-July 2024. That's the biggest thing. So nowadays, whenever we, one of the things that we do whenever we show homes, of course, we print out the MLS sheets. One of the reasons we print out the MLS sheets is because it has what the buyer broker compensation is going to be. So we can see it right there with the buyer broker compensation. So we know. Like, this is what we would get paid. This is the portion of our buyer fee that would get paid. Where I am in the state that I'm located in, I've been using buyer broker agreements since 2007. That's when I first started as a real estate agent. So the buyer broker agreement is not new to me. And our listing agreements have always said what the compensation would be for the buyer broker agreement as it is split from the listing agent portion. But this is saying basically, if you're a member of the NAR and an affiliated MLS, you cannot offer buyer broker compensation on the MLS. Jeffrey Sneed on Instagram said, so they're going to offer seller comp instead of compensation to realtors. I think that's what they can do. They can offer a concession, but maybe they can't necessarily offer it to pay the buyer agent compensation. Wow, 90% of agents in SoCal don't use a buyer broker agreement, said Laura Coffey. Really? That is wild. I mean, how do you know who fiduciary's duties that you're supposed to uphold? That's wild. Okay, so written agreements for MLS participants acting for buyers. While NAR has been advocating for the use of written agreements for years, Southern California, in this settlement, we have agreed to require MLS participants working with buyers to enter into written representation agreements with their buyers. This change will go in effect mid-July 2024. So in states where it hasn't been normal, it's not a requirement by your local real estate board. It's now a requirement from NAR. So you have to get buyer broker agreements signed starting in mid-July 2024 if you want to be a participant in the MLS. Next up, settlement payment. NAR would pay $418 million over approximately 4 years. This is a substantial sum, and it will be incumbent on NAR to use our remaining resources in the most effective way possible to continue delivering our core mission. Yeah, like $56 million paid to consultants for advertising. Yeah, sounds good. NAR's membership dues for 2024 will not change because of this payment. So that's good, guys. Hey, your dues aren't going to go up because of the settlement in 2024. What about 2025? NAR continues to deny any wrongdoing. NAR has long maintained that while we continue to believe that corporate compensation, NAR's policies are good things that benefit buyers and sellers. They promote access to property ownership, particularly lower and middle income buyers who have a difficult time saving for a down payment. With this settlement, NAR is confident that its members can still achieve these goals. There's a video from the NAR Chief Legal Officer of Member Experience, Kate Johnson, that's also in the link. I think this was emailed out to everyone. Someone texted it to me. I haven't checked my email today. Somebody texted it to me. Jeffrey C. said the BBA isn't a big deal. That's an agreement between the buyer and broker. Seller has no obligation to abide by that. You close the deal and the buyer decides not to pay you. You close the deal and the buyer if you close the deal and the buyer decides not to pay. Yeah, it's not between the seller. Move Me to Tennessee says 2025 dues are going up. The D's, Southern Indiana is the same way. It's rare to have a buyer broker agreement in place. Interesting. Starting to see them more here in South Florida. Okay. That's the bigger deal. I think so. In my opinion, I don't necessarily think this is bad. Well, let me explain. What I think is awful is that for years, the National Realtors Association has told us how to operate. And for years, they've said to operate in a way that offers some kind of commission for the buyer agent. And for years, they've told us as real estate agents not to work our fee into an offer because it puts our fiduciary duty above the duties of the buyer. They're going to have to backtrack all of that and say, well, now it's part of the deal. The other thing that's interesting is that for years, the buyer agent compensation could not be part of the loan. Okay, it's always been paid outside the loan, so that's not been a big deal. Now that's going to be a big deal. So there's going to have to be some policy changes or some bank changes, because there's going to have to be something in writing that states I negotiated my commission with this seller or with this agent representing the seller, and then this is what they've agreed to pay. That is my buyer's fee is this much. They've agreed to pay that much on behalf of my buyer. Here's our offer. Like, there's going to have to be something written, and most people are going to be putting that in the offer. So you're not going to be able to ignore it. But also, for years, the bank fees, the lender fees, those have been in the contract, right? Closing costs paid. So what's the difference? Brian said, I'm absolutely floored by the amount of states that have not required buyer broker agreement. Here in Colorado, we've used them for decades, and all the commission structures have been transparent. Let's see. What's up, Jack? He says, it will make the strongest agents stand out. Weak or in trouble. Jeffrey said, preach, Ray. Exactly. If there's no way to pay realtors, at least short term, then buyers are going to be suing sellers because they have an unfair advantage. It's going to be really hard. What's up, Sheena? She said, it's going to be really hard to allow buyers who need closing costs covered and also commission covered. Buyers that are in the same situation are never going to win in multiple offers. Yeah. Here's what it's going to look like in the future, guys. You have a seller, and the seller says, hey, I want to list with you. I don't want to offer any buyer agent commission. And you're going to say, okay, let's do this thing. You're going to put in the MLS, hey, 0 is offered to the buyer. If you want for buyer broker or buyer agents, if you want to get your commission paid, you can either negotiate it or have your buyer pay. So then the seller is going to get all these offers. Let's say they get 2 offers, 3 offers, and the listing agent's going to say, hey, we have 3 offers. 2 of them are asking you to pay the buyer agent's commission here and closing cost. Here's how much that is. 1 offer, they're just asking you to pay closing cost. Here's how much that is. Which one do you want to take? Now you would assume, like, we'll just take the one that's only asking for their closing costs to be paid and not the buyer agent commission, but you don't know what the end number is. We don't know if those other 2 offers went way over ask. So it's still going to be a negotiation, and it's still very possible and plausible to get paid in the same way we have been. But as agents, we're going to have to hone our skills in negotiating on behalf of our client to get more of their fees paid. Where this really messes things up are for veterans who want representation, because my veteran clients can't always be in town that they're moving to. We get people PCSing into our area all the time, and they don't even see the house until they show up with their family in front of the front door. So what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to get their brother and their friend Bob to go negotiate contracts on their behalf and try to pick out a home, who have no fiduciary duty and no real estate training, have no idea if they're getting a good deal? What are they going to do? Because now they have to somehow get a fee paid. What if the seller of the house they want to buy says, no, we're not paying any fees? So this puts a major disadvantage to any veterans that are trying to move across the country. Okay, so let's say that there's a rule change. The government changes that rule, and finally, a veteran can pay their own fee, or at least have it wrapped up into the loan somehow. Okay, but now you have all these other folks that have just gotten enough money to save up for their first home. They want to go buy a home. They're not really sure what to do. They've been looking at online. Maybe they're even talking to ChatGPT about how to buy a house, but it's still not advocating on their behalf. It's just telling them how to purchase. So now they make an offer. They can't afford another real estate agent. So they make an offer straight to the listing agent, whose fiduciary duty is squarely to the seller. And they say things like, yeah, we've been trying really hard to find a house. Finally, this one's almost in our price range. I don't know. We're thinking about going up a little bit if we have to. What do you think? Do you think the seller would take it at list price, or do you think we're going to have to go over? What's the fiduciary duty of that real estate agent? Is to look them squarely in the face and say, put in the highest offer you possibly can if you want this home. Okay, so now you have someone that's really scraping. They could have gotten a house for a really great deal because they had representation, but they can't afford the representation. This is a way for sellers, on a side. Okay, that's another issue. 4th issue, this is a very easy way for people to be racist. Incredibly easy. Because you could say, hey, we're not paying any buyer agent fees. Okay. Well, how is this racist? That just means that somebody could be any color, creed, race, religion, and then they would just have to make the offer because they can't afford the agent straight to the listing agent or straight to the seller. Okay. So now they're dealing straight with the listing agent who's buddy with the seller. And it's going to say, well, let me tell you about this buyer. Let me tell you about this buyer. There is no more, in a case where a buyer's dealing directly with the listing agent, there's no more veil protecting any kind of identity, race, color, creed, religion of that buyer. So now communities that want to be wholly exclusive from an entire group of people, A-okay. You could totally do that. The only people that would be able to get around it are the people with enough money to hire someone to protect them. And that is not the people that need protecting. So that's, in my opinion, what the awful part about this is. It's not awful that we as agents are going to have to get better at negotiating our compensation and talking about with our clients. It's not awful that the process is going to be more transparent. That's all going to be good. But part of the reason why this was all initially put in place was to protect the buyer and to give more opportunities for buyers and to level the playing field for those that have been disenfranchised over time. No one said that in the court. That's why we lost. Because the defense was, they're independent contractors. It's not a defense, especially in front of the jury. And then they say, oh, we'll win on appeals. We'll win on appeals. We'll win on appeals. I told you guys from the beginning, appeals is not the answer. There was nothing to appeal there. They're not going to win on appeals. And I think they saw that too. So now we're in this situation where you guys get to continue to pay dues to the NAR in most states. In some states, there's already brokerages that are saying, yeah, you don't have to be affiliated with NAR. So if you have access to the MLS, why would you affiliate now? I mean, maybe because you get to see the new ads. Yeah, I think that's low. Steph Crawford said fair housing. Yikes. Yep, exactly. Here's my question though. How many agents are going to sue NAR? That's an interesting question. Weren't we as agents doing exactly what they told us to do for several years? I think so. And now we as agents, they're going to be taking $418 million of our dues and paying it out? Yeah. Why? We just did what we were told. So there's some real questions that have to be asked here. I love you guys joining over on the T-Wire pod. I'm broadcasting on 2 different Instagram things. Put up your questions. Let me get to some of your stuff. Let's see. Alyssa Winkler says the buyer disadvantage is why co-brokering started to begin with. We are moving backwards. Yes, I agree. I also want to get to some of the live comments on the YouTube. And Jen, I'm going to come to you in a second if you're ready. Dusty Martin says, in AZ, we've always been able to advise to use the BBA. That's the buyer broker agency, buyer BBA. But many don't because they feel like it hurts the trust they have with their clients, which is stupid. No relationship ends well if it's not clearly defined. I concur. I'm concerned about VA buyers who are not allowed to pay commissions at all. Yep. Melanie, hey. She tagged someone. Thanks for tagging your friend. Christina Smallhorn says, hey there. Did I miss much? Did you well, if you missed my rant there, you missed a little bit. You missed a little bit and you come back. Christina, though, I got approval. We got it moved. So I'll be on Christina's podcast this Sunday to talk about it more. So it's at 3:30 Central, right, Christina? Drop the link so that people can find that too. All right, I'm going to bring up a friend of mine. Christina says, you're not wrong there. They didn't represent us correctly. Thank you. I'll bring up my friend, Jen. What's up, Jen Mabry?
Hi. Well, I don't know what I'm on. I don't know how I got here. Greener?
So I have chats with friends and real estate agents around the country. One of the chats, I dropped the link to actually join. So she clicked that link and here you are. So thanks for
I didn't mean to do that, but
well, there you are.
I
Always
always
love
love.
your takes. So, I mean, you join
I
us a lot on YouTube, so I like hearing what, or on Clubhouse. So I love hearing what you say anyway.
I love to hear your take on it.
Thank you.
I'm sort of one of those people who I'm gonna wait to see what the smarter people than I are going to do about it. Um, I my thoughts are I'm going to encourage my sellers to, of course, pay the buyer broker or pay the BAC. To me,
Yeah.
it's like staging. It's like anything else, and if they're
Yeah.
trusting me to do it and to guide them, then they're going to trust me. Luckily, I've been in the business long enough that I have established relationships, so I'm not
Yeah.
totally worried about it. But absolutely, buyers who think that they can watch a YouTube video and do this, they're just going to be super out of their depth. And I think that a lot of unscrupulous listing agents are going to take complete advantage of it. I mean, they already do. And I think it's just going to be ugly, but I don't think it is the end of the world, like you said. It's just more negotiation on our part, just more ways for us to prove our value, I think.
Yeah. And well, and there's a question too, like, is it, I mean, it is shrewd to take advantage of it now, but is it bad to take advantage of it? I don't think so at all. I think, um, as I think buyer agents are going to have to be careful in judging the agents that immediately say, okay, I'm going to list everything right now with 0%, because there's a lot of liability. There's a lot of legality, because now in July, it's going to be zero across the board. Nobody's going to offer anything in the MLSs. So agents are, they may be mad now. Yeah, but get used to it. Like, you got to learn how to do it. So what I think would be helpful in the industry is, if you are an agent that wants to do that, at least put in the agent remarks how the agent is supposed to deal with it, right? Give them some clues. Like, hey, go talk to your buyer, let them know that your buyer agent fee is what they would have to pay if they wanted to buy this house. And they should take that into consideration with the offer. That's simple. There are foreclosures on the market right now that don't pay agent commissions and say, hey, whatever your fee is, just charge your buyer. Okay, well, that foreclosures have been doing that for a long time. And some will say they'll pay this really small amount and we have to get the rest of it from our client. And so we've been telling our clients for years, like, here is your fee. In most cases, the seller will pay. In some cases, they won't. In the cases they won't, you will owe this fee. That's just, I mean, agents are going to have to get really, really good at saying that. And we can't blame a seller that sees this and says, well, I'm not going to offer anything. If
Well,
that's what the seller wants to do, that's what they're going to do. I think it's going to hurt them, but that's what they're going to do.
to me, it's a lot like the conversation around specific brokerage that don't offer the best services, agents who are not paid on commission, things like that. It's very much like that conversation, I think.
Yeah.
Sellers who are going to use those brokerages aren't my people. They clearly don't value the agent expertise. So they're willing to pay a brokerage who has a bunch of newbie agents who, get paid salary. So to me, it's a lot like that conversation. I think if you want Walmart, that's great. I'm Nordy's, and that.
I'm Tarjay over here. That's good. Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see kind of how it all shakes out over time. Thanks for joining and adding your 2 cents, because I love that you clicked the link anyway when you didn't even intend to join the show, and you joined the show. So thanks for being
In my
here.
sweats, in my
That's
workout
perfect.
clothes.
Perfect. All right, I'll see you, Jen. One interesting thing about this that I haven't heard a lot of conversation on is how it's going to destroy any real estate agent or company that is offering a rebate if you use them to buy. Because right now it's like, hey, use our company. We will give you $1,000 rebate, a $2,000 rebate if you use us. Well, where they were getting that rebate was from the commissions they were charging. So a company could charge a buyer like 5%, 7%, whatever the percentage was, and then could rebate them 3%. Right? And if they could collect that from the seller, if they're already negotiating that from the seller, then their rebate looks really big when it's really not. Well, in a situation where now the MLS commissions on the buyer agency are totally taken off, those rebates go away. because you don't know how much you'd be able to get or collect. It's also going to destroy those websites that say, enter in your the home you want to buy, and we'll show you how much you save. And it goes and it pulls the buyer agent commission off, and then it gives them a rebate amount. They're gone. That doesn't work anymore. How will referrals work? Right? If I have a relo moving across the country and they want 40%, 40% of what? Right now, there's nothing. So all the relo companies are going to be massively impacted, especially if the agents don't know how to negotiate their commission. And we know that if you're paying 40% commissions on everything, you're probably an agent at the top of the game. What about Zillow Flex? 35% of a buyer agent fee. All right. What's the buyer agent fee? Because that's about to go way down. And Zillow, have they been making money lately? Do they have a profitable quarter? So if you haven't been working with listings or focused on listings, here is your warning. You need to be working with listings. Let me get some of the Instagram comments. What's up, Rich? She said, exactly. This is my point. It just helps sellers. Buyers will take the brunt of the pain. This is going to be the opposite of creating more affordable housing. Yep. Matt, what's up, my man? He said, what's the likelihood that buyer agent commissions are going to be paid via closing costs like mortgage professionals get paid? Do you see the rules changing? That I do. I think the rules are going to have to change. The rules are going to have to change in order to make that happen. Buy, sell homes, live Colorado Springs. I'm assuming you said live Colorado Springs, but I'd love to mispronounce that for folks. They said coming in on the end. Dang, what did I miss? There's going to be a lot. This is worth a replay, I think. So that's the breaking news I have for you today. I won't take up much more of your time, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Nika, but how is this happening and why can't we do anything? Well, because they lost the court case. She said, where's the common sense? It was lost in the court case because I don't want to name names, but some CEOs just got up there and said, well, they're 1099 employees and whatnot. And if you say that, you're not going to win a court case. I agree with you, though, Nika. I wish we could do more, but we can't. Lawyers win, consumers lose. Yeah, it's a huge payday. Huge payday. Reagan, ha ha ha, it was lost. It's going to be different. Part of me, so my rant in the middle of this, which if you missed, I'll cut that and put that out there. But the rant in the middle of this is the reason why I'm upset about it. But a big part of me is kind of excited about it too, right? I am always excited when there's a massive call to increase the professionalism in our business, in our industry. I'm always excited about that. I'm not excited because of the negative impact that this is going to have for so many clients that don't have that professional representation or someone that can negotiate on their behalf to get their fee paid. I'm not excited about that. But for me and my team, I'm pumped. We're going to be great. This is only going to make us better. But for the industry as a whole, it's pretty painful. And I think you're going to see a lot of people go back to bartending. Stupid question. Chris said, there's no stupid questions. Does this change apply the same way in all states? It does. The change is the two biggest changes in this by mid-July 2024. That's this year, folks. Compensation offers will be removed from the MLS and written agreements for buyer broker agency are required, but only if you're a member of NAR. Interesting. I emailed our MLS this morning and asked them what are the chances that they would decouple from the NAR requirement, because it is required in our area that you be a member of NAR in order to join. So we'll see. All right, I think I got to most of your comments. Thank you guys so much for participating in the live. It's been fun. I've never been able to carry my show live on Instagram as well as all the other locations. it is something that I think we will definitely do in the future too, because this was kind of the first test. I'm using StreamYard for those of you that are interested instead of Restream. I've previously been using Restream, but you can stream to Instagram on Restream, but not at the same time you can do all the other streams. So I like this. The quality is okay. I'll have to go back and watch it on my computer. The quality is just kind of meh, but at least we're getting the information out there and we can put the show out there too. Christine Halverson, good morning. It's noon here. Has it been a good morning? I think you missed the whole lot. No, I'm kidding. Thanks for joining, Christine. Okay. So Hillary says, so how do I raise my base commission on my BBA so that it can be negotiated later if necessary? That's going to be the question. Whenever we sign up a buyer, we tell them what our fee is and we tell them they're responsible for that fee. And in most cases, the seller will pay the fee or the listing agent will pay the fee. But in the cases that they don't pay the fee, that fee would be due to them. And probably about 10% of the people we represent give us some pushback on that. And they're worried about a situation in which the seller doesn't pay. And in the future, those 10% will just not work with us. To the date, we've been able to assure them that on almost every case, their fee is going to be covered. And it's a very rare case in which their fee is not. But if there starts to be a bunch of zeros in July, there won't be any compensation offered. So that discussion now becomes extremely important. And I am assuming that that's going to flip for a lot of people to where now you have 90% of people that will give you the pushback on the fee and 10% that'll just be willing to pay. So proving your value is more important than ever. I'm going to be in Dallas next Tuesday at a conference that just a little one-day thing that the president of Real, Sharon Srivatsa, he will be there talking about issues like this on the buyer representation. If you want to go, send me a DM on Instagram. I'm Razorback, RAYZORBACK. And if you want to go to that, I can send you the details. But I'm excited about that because improving the professionalism on the buyer side is something that's been needed for a long time. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm excited about that part. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out of luck that don't have the representation they need. So we'll see what happens. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Edwin in at the buzzer. He said, I was a bartender before becoming real estate agent. We had a battle over including tips that went away. I'd rather deal with this. That is true. I guess you're always fighting to be paid somewhere, bro. So, all right, guys, that's all I've got for today. I will see you next week, next Wednesday. We go live every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Central. That is 10 o'clock PST and 1 o'clock EST. So I'd love for you to join us there. But thanks for joining for the breaking news. We'll have more on this. Stay tuned. I'll see y'all next week. Bye, everybody.